guys, this is Tina from Shabbydabbydoodah. Welcome back to my channel. So we're here for another one of our mass making sessions. We are up to week number 275. We're doing mason jars today. So if you want to craft along, this is what you're going to need. You're going to need some paper. Now I am using thicker paper. This is 230 GSM, so it's quite a bit thicker than, you know, normal kind of copy paper. It's up to you what thickness that you use, obviously, but I would recommend something thicker. I wouldn't personally recommend making these from copy paper because I think they're going to be very thin and flimsy. So just something thicker, preferably double-sided because you're going to see both sides of the paper. But again, you know, that's up to you. If you don't have double-sided, then you might like to just coffee dye the back or something. I'm not sure whether I've got any that's just coffee dyed. Oh yeah, here we go. So you could just coffee dye the back and then, you know, straight away that's going to kind of improve the look. So paper, then you're going to want some sort of paper to put as the lid. Now I've used in the past, you know, like corrugated paper from like a box or something. That works really well because, you know, lids of jars often have those little grooves. I'm just going to use some craft paper because, you know, craft card, because that's all that I kind of seemed to be able to find this morning that was suitable. So that's what I'm going to be using for that. You're going to want some scissors, or if you prefer to use, you know, a scoreboard and, you know, a paper trimmer, then of course use that. You're going to need some glue. So I always use the Anita's tacky glue when I'm gluing paper to paper. So that's what I'll be using for this. You might want to have a glue spreader for spreading your glue, and you might want to have either a dried wipe or some tissue or something to mop out your glue. Now, aside from that, this is where it gets a bit tricky. So I have used before my envelope punch board. So I will do a demonstration of one with the envelope punch board. But as I kind of try and say every week, I do try and make these kind of like most accessible to everybody. So even if you didn't have a punch board, you know, I'm going to give you an alternative to be able to make them. So envelope punch board. And then for the alternative, you might do it with a punch. However, I'm going to show you what I've decided to be using this time around. And, you know, this part of the kind of interesting thing about having the mass making is, to be honest, you know, we sort of gradually evolve and, you know, find different ways of making these things that perhaps are easier, or, you know, hopefully are easier. So, yeah, I will show you kind of what I've decided to do for mine. So, how do we make these? Let's just get started straight away. So, move this all out of the way. Okay, right. So this is obviously just a kind of like small piece of paper that I've got left. So I'm going to probably get 2 mason jars out of this with, you know, possibly a little bit of kind of leftover, but definitely I'm going to get 2. I don't mean leftover usable. I just mean, you know, I'm going to get 2, plus it's going to have a little bit of, you know, a snip. So I'm going to cut it down along the side here. And I will give you the measurements of, you know, how I'm doing this. Not that the measurements are particularly vital or anything, you know, I don't tend to kind of like go by the measurements myself. So, you know, it's up to you how you do it. Right, so this one is 4 inches by 2, 4, 6, 8. Now, I would say this is probably a little bit on the wide side. So, you know, I might kind of like rein it in, to be honest. But all you're going to do, you're going to take your paper, and then what I would do is I would start by folding up what's going to be your pocket. So I would fold that up kind of like roughly 1/3. So, you know, give or take, obviously. So fold up about 1/3. Now, at this point, this is where I would then trim it down to make it smaller, because I feel that this is a little bit wide. So I will take this and trim it down now. Okay. So it's now just slightly under 4 inches. It's possibly still a little bit too big, to be perfectly honest. You know, you may be better off kind of just under sort of 4 inches, more like sort of 3 3/4, something like that. Okay. And then I might want to trim it down slightly in height. I don't think it's too bad, to be honest. But yeah, you could trim it down slightly in height as well. But I mean, hopefully you don't want to kind of have like really stumpy jars. I mean, you do buy stumpy jars, don't you? But I prefer them kind of like probably more regular shape. So like that. Okay. Now, if you've got an envelope punch board, you're going to take your envelope punch board, and what you want to do is you want to punch like feet for your jar. So to do that, take your bit that's folded and you're going to put it like roughly to like the halfway mark here. So just kind of like roughly, you know, in the center of that little thing. So like that, and then turn it over and do the other side again, roughly, oops, roughly halfway in there. Okay, that's given you your little feet kind of shape for the bottom of the jar. Now what you want to do is make the top of your jar. Okay, so I personally would take your top section, pop it in here, and I would take your edge of your paper to the edge of this little sticky out type bit. Okay, so like that, punch that, and then turn it over, and exactly the same. So up to the top of that little, oops, little sticky out bit, like that. And that's given you your top piece of the jar. Obviously it's got these weird little things. So what you now want to do is just trim these down. So just kind of like take them straight, like that. Whoops. So what you've got now is your sort of jar shaped piece with a pocket. Now, in the past when I've made these, I've tended to decorate the reverse side when I've come to decorating, and maybe I would stick something, you know, like for instance a label, something like that on this side, because then it's going to look properly like a jar. I would take my craft coloured card and I would put that across here like a lid. That's how I've done it in the past. Today I'm going to try and do, I think, decorating this side. So hopefully it's still going to look like a jar, but so it could be glued into my book. Whereas when I've done them before, I've done them so they're like paperclip innable pieces, rather, you know, move about pieces rather than glued in pieces. So, you know, that's just kind of a little change there. So that's all there is to these. And then all you're going to do is obviously glue your pocket down along the edges. So, you know, although they looked a bit fiddly to make, or look a bit fiddly to make, they're actually very straightforward. You know, they just require a little bit of kind of like thinking when you're putting them into the punch board, really. I mean, I've got to be honest, you know, when I kind of saw, because I always have to look back and see what it is that we're making. And when I saw that it was these, I did think, oh no, they're really fiddly. And actually, I did like a practice run because I hadn't made them probably since the last time we made them. And actually, they're not really fiddly at all. They're, you know, they're perfectly fine. Like I say, you just have to kind of be aware of where you're putting them in the punch board and things like that. And that's it. So a cute little mason jar. So I'm going to give you a demonstration now of making one without the punch board. This, by the way, is my Rich Damask set 2. I think set 2 actually. Now I'm like, oh, is it set 2? It could be set 1. The Rich Damask anyway. So what I'm going to do now is show you without a punch board. Now this is where probably going to get much more confusing. So take your paper, again, fold your, you know, your what's going to be your pockets, fold that up. Then, you know, if you need to trim it down or anything, then trim it now. So actually I'm going to go in like this. Now, what I did when I made these before, and I kind of like gave you an alternative for if you didn't have the punch board, I messed about with various punches and, you know, with not a great deal of success. So, of course, this morning when I did my little practice run just now, I was again trying to do it with the punches. So, I'm just going to show you what I came up with in the end. What I would do is I would take a different piece of paper. So here I've got this piece of card, okay? And I would play around here. So I would put it down, and what I've done, I've marked on my punch with a Sharpie roughly where I want it to be. So I would put it in like this. This is going to be my feet of the jar, okay? There. And then what you can do is you can just round that corner like that. Oops. Like that. And that's giving you feet for your jar. Or you could do literally freehand. So this one I cut freehand previously. So, you know, you've got two little alternatives there to use. Then what I would do is I would do your top piece. So I would take my, you know, punch again. I would put it in. Now, bearing in mind, this time you want obviously a much bigger sort of piece because you want your lid. So I would put the punch in, you know, much further in, if you see what I mean. Again, that looks nothing like a lid. So now what I would do, bearing in mind, this is a scrap piece of paper. And again, I would be using something thicker because you're going to be using this as a template. Okay. So then what I would do, I would go in and I would cut this down to what's then going to be a usable template. So you want to cut this straight, and then you want to kind of use this as your guide. You might be wondering, why didn't I just freestyle or freehand cut this? And you can do that. I find that the punching of the circle, it just gives you a sort of rough place where you want to do it. So I would go round there like that to the base of the circle and then in to there. And then actually I've done a terrible job there. There we go. Make it a bit rounder. Okay, so, you know, kind of play around, get it to how the shape that you want. I prefer it probably much more rounded, if you see what I mean. So then what you've got your feet and you've got your top of your jar. So then take your piece of paper, take your template, and all you do is then obviously against your template, 1 foot and the other one. Like that. Okay, so looking cute there. I mean, they don't have to be perfect. If they're not looking kind of identical, it really doesn't matter too much. No one's going to be really inspecting these once they're, you know, once they're glued down into your journals. And then take your piece that you've made for your top of your jar. Again, put that in here and just use that as your guide to make your lid. Okay, one, and then you want to turn it over to do the other side. Oops, like that. Like that. And that's it. So, you know, very straightforward. I think the template definitely is, you know, helpful and quite time saving. What I'm saying is, you know, make your template ahead of making, and then once you've got your template, it's going to be quick and easy to make them. And if you just look at the difference, let me just put a piece of white paper underneath here. The difference between the two mason jars, the, you know, the punch board and the not punch board, they're not really a lot different, are they? So they both look, you know, pretty similar, to be honest. In fact, maybe this one's actually better. So, you know, that's all there is to these. And obviously you can change the sizes and things like that of these. So then again, what you want to do is just glue down your pocket. Oops. Glue down. Oh. Sorry, I'm obviously not really used my glue a lot this morning. So glue your pocket down like that. Okay. Squish it down like that. So, you know, they are kind of like, yeah, not really fiddly, but, you know, just require a little bit of thought. But once, you know, once you've done the kind of basic sort of piece, they're actually really, really simple, aren't they? So, you know, really, really cute, really, really nice. So that's all there is to them. We're just going to kind of get on and just do like a whole mass making of these. And, you know, what I mean by that is just like following like an assembly line style. I will try and remember to tell you the papers that I use. And yeah, we can just relax now, have a really productive like 40 minutes or so and have a catch up. So I'm going to use this, which is the pink, the pale damask, sorry. I think it's set 2, and then this is the Love Collection papers. So now I will try and make some smaller ones. I did make a smaller one with the like prototype one. Is that the smaller one? Yeah. So I kind of cut that down probably just about an inch or an inch and a half off the top there. So this is just a standard A4 sheet of paper. So I'm going to do a couple, I think, in the smaller size. So if I just take that and fold that over like that. But ordinarily, I would say, you know, it's probably like your A4 sheet of paper cut into thirds, something like that. So yeah, I'm just going to cut this here, and then I can hopefully get 2 out of this. So like that. Obviously I won't bin this because I will be using that for something else another time. And then, like I say, I would just then cut off approximately like an inch or something off of here. So yeah, just kind of like there. That's obviously because we're making this as a smaller one, remember. So I'm just going to cut all my bits of paper to size first, and then we'll do all the folding and, you know, do it like that, I think. So yeah, so I'm filming this on the Monday, ready to go up for you guys on the Tuesday. So my week's only just started. It's a really, really lovely looking day out there today. I went to the gym this morning. It wasn't too cold. So yeah, that was kind of like all good. It has been really chilly. Last week was absolutely freezing. Every day was really, really cold. I mean, probably temperature wise, probably not that cold, but hey, to me, because I'm very wimpy, when it comes to the cold, it felt freezing. So yeah, I mean, today looks beautiful, like the sun's shining, it's gorgeous, you know, one of those probably crisp cold days. I have got my polo neck on and a thick chunky cardigan, so it's not that warm. But you know, it's at least looking bright compared to how it's been. So yeah, that's a bonus, and I'll take that. Just trim down the bit where it's not printed borderless. And actually this one's probably a little bit on the narrow side now, but I can trim it up when we come to make it, I think. So yeah, we'll just kind of carry on like that. And this is the Swan Lake papers, and this is the Documents 3 collection papers. And then this one, this is the autumn papers. We used these, I think, last week. And then on the back again, the Documents 3. So I'm just going to kind of like, yeah, reuse this, the bit that we didn't use last week. So what have I been up to all week? Well, what have I been up to? Well, I have watched the whole of something on Netflix. So I think last week I was watching something called Accused. Now, I'm still watching that, but you don't have to watch them consecutively. So I kind of interrupted that and watched something called This Is My Autumn Is Upon Us from last year. And that's the Documents 3. Yeah, so I interrupted that and I watched something on Prime called The Girlfriend. Now, I have to say, it was really good. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I didn't recognise any of the people in it. Well, actually, that's not true. I did recognise them, but I couldn't tell you for the life of me who they were. But yeah, they did kind of look familiar. But, oh, it was really good. It kept on coming up, you know, like, obviously it must have been, I assume, a new thing that they added. And it just kept on coming up on my, you know, recommendations. So, yeah, I decided to watch it. Well, I binge watched it within just like two evenings, maybe 3 evenings. 3 evenings, I think. Don't think there were overly loads of episodes. Maybe either 6 or 8. I'm thinking 8 probably, because it did take me, yeah, it did take me 3 evenings, so it must have been 8, I think. Anyway, it was really good. So for anybody who's watched it, drop a comment down below. Who did you think was more of a nutter? Did you think the girlfriend or did you think the mum? I'm not sure. I'm not sure who I thought was more of a nutter. I think they were both quite nutty, to be honest. Yeah, I was like on the fence. I was like, oh, I'm not sure who is worse, to be honest. I think they were both really bad. But yeah, it was good. So if you haven't watched it, I would recommend it. It was good. So now I've switched back to watching The Accused. Sorry, this is the French Blue papers and this is the Documents 3 as well. I've now switched back. This is the Shabby Chic Set 2 collection papers, and that's again the Documents 3. I've now switched back to the Accused again on Netflix. So yeah, I'm quite enjoying that. I did mention last week, I feel like that could be like an older thing. Well, it is an older thing because I'm sure it says 2012. I think sometimes they like buy the rights, maybe like say from the BBC, or I don't know whether they buy them, you know, probably from all different channels. But yeah, it's definitely got a feel of something older, and I feel like I could have even possibly seen it before, but I'm not sure. I'm going to cut the border off when I come to make that in a minute. Are you okay, sweetie? Yeah. So my daughter's home from school today. I know, she's only just started secondary school. She does love a day off, that girl. No, to be fair, she's not feeling very well now. So I think she's got my kind of like cold or coronavirus or whatever, you know. She has got a very sore throat, so I'm thinking maybe she has got like COVID. Yeah, she wasn't feeling very well last night. And then, yeah, she didn't sleep all that well or anything. So she's not at school today. So, yeah, between her and me, I feel like one of us is constantly ill. This is the hydrangea papers. And this is the Avery, I think in the browns collection papers, which I wouldn't normally put together. But actually, they look quite nice, don't they? So, yeah, I think they're going to actually kind of like work okay. So, yeah, fingers crossed they're going to look all right. Yeah, anyway, so she's home again, so right, this is the Love collection again with the pink damask again from the liked ones. And yeah, let me decide which way up I want this. Maybe I'll have it this way up, I think. Right, I'm going to start folding them up, I think, now. I know I've folded this one, but yeah, I'm going to fold them up because the stages are a little bit fiddly, aren't they? So sometimes I get carried away at the opening stage of making like tons and tons of them, and then suddenly I'm like, oh, and I always end up having to leave loads that aren't, you know, aren't made, aren't finished. So yeah, let's try and actually make them this time. Yeah, anyway, but I'm in touch with, she's, you know, she's okay, but yeah, she's just feeling poorly. So yeah, she's home today anyway, so that's who it was who was going downstairs. Is that not very straight? I don't think that is very straight. I'm sure it's fine. Right, which way round do we want this? That way, or do we want it that way? No, I think this way. Yeah, so anyway, that's what I've been watching. My son and I went to the cinema on Wednesday and we watched, oh, let me think, A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey, I think was what it was called. It's a bit of a sort of long-winded title, so I had to think about that. I'm sure that was what it was. Who was in it? Colin Farrell? Was it Colin Farrell? Farrell, I think his name is. It was him and Margot Robbie. So, yep, we quite enjoyed it. My son really enjoyed it. I have to be honest, I didn't necessarily know what was going on in some of the film. It was only when we came out from the cinema, you know, and we were talking about it, and I was like, oh, well, I wondered, you know, why his friend was suddenly there. And he was like, Mum, that wasn't his friend. That was him as a child. And I was like, really? And he said, oh, Mum, you've missed the whole gist of what was going on again. So, yeah, I often do that. It's because I don't really recognise people. So, you know, like, if films are flashing back between time zones, I'm clueless. Because then I'm like, oh, who is that? You know, which person's that? So, it was one of those scenarios going on. So, yep. He was obviously just like, wow, Mum, you really are, you know, awful to watch films with because you just miss the point all the time. Right, I'm just going to trim this down. Yeah, so it was good. It was weird. You know, one of those kind of weird films. Now, I'm not saying it was as good as La La Land, which we did really enjoy. And I know there was like mixed reviews on that film. Some people really liked it. Some people thought it was awful. We really liked it. I felt like it had a little bit of a vibe of La La Land. Not anywhere near as good. And not a musical. Because like La La Land was a bit musically, wasn't it? But it just, there was one or two bits that I thought, oh, that bit's reminding me a bit of La La Land. I said that to my son and he was like, No, it just didn't. So again, maybe if any of you watched it, you'd think, no, that did not remind us of La La Land at all. But I thought it was a bit La La Landish. Oh, this is annoying, look. I hadn't really factored that in because, yeah, my flowers are now upside down. Oh, well. Anyway, yeah, so we watched that and, you know, it was just nice to see something because quite honestly, most of the time, there's nothing really on at the cinema. So, yeah. This week, is there something on? No, I don't think there's anything on. I did say a couple of weeks ago there's something called the Smashing Machine coming out. I think it's called the Smashing Machine. Yeah, really want to watch that. So, quite looking forward to that one. Yeah, that's kind of like pretty much it. Right, which way round? I think I'll put this way round. Okay. Saturday I went out with my friend for lunch and we went for like a little bit of a walk around like a lake and things, had a really nice time. And then what did we do then? Yeah, so that was really, really nice. We just had like a pizza. They had buy one, get one for £1. So that was good. I always like a bargain. So yeah, we did buy one, get one for £1 for the pizzas. And then we like walked around the lake. Unfortunately, couldn't take Bo with us because, you know, she's not allowed in the restaurant for the pizza. So yeah, it's so gutting. Like, you know, I love taking her out with us or, you know, out with me. And obviously, especially because then we went for a walk and she would have loved it. But it was probably about half an hour's drive from where I live. So, you know, I couldn't have taken her because when we went into the restaurant, she would have had nowhere to obviously be. It's such a shame. I just wish that they'd let dogs into more places, you know. But they don't. So, yeah, bit of a shame, really. But, right, hold on. Oh, sorry about that. Right, okay, so I'm back. So, I can't remember now what we were talking about, to be honest. Yeah, what were we saying? Oh, so I'm back. Sorry about that. Yeah, I can't remember what we were saying now. Oh, that's right, about Bo. So, yeah, it was a shame that she couldn't come with us. And then, so this all came about because I was supposed to be going out for lunch with another friend of mine from school, an old school friend who was coming down, and there was not really a school reunion, but, you know, just kind of all of us old school friends getting together, which we've done a few times over the last year or so. So I was really looking forward to that. Anyway, then they messaged to say weren't well, so weren't coming. So that's why I ended up going out with a completely different friend. And then I still ended up going down to like where my old school was. And, you know, a bunch of us still went out for a drink. I mean, obviously I don't really drink. So, you know, I mean, I just kind of went along and I just have a pineapple juice when I go out. But yeah, it was really nice to see everybody. So that was lovely. And then, yeah, that was Saturday. So it was a kind of like busy day Saturday. And then Sunday, just did some food shopping and then just worked really the whole day. My daughter had a friend come round. Yeah, that was kind of my Sunday really. And then, yeah, that was it. So the weekend just whizzes by, doesn't it, to be honest? Did I do anything at all? I honestly don't think I did anything other than work really and the food shop. So yeah, nothing very exciting there. Okay. One of these sides is much better than the other side, so yeah, I haven't made a very good job of making my template, but you know, it's fine. And obviously I'm just using the template rather than the punch board, just because I'm trying to keep this really, like I say, accessible for sort of everybody. So I just want to say a massive thank you to anybody who placed an order either on my Etsy shop or my website over the weekend. So obviously I've done the restock. I've still got loads of stuff left. So, you know, if you're looking for anything, then, you know, please do head across and, you know, check out what's in my shop at the moment. I think there's still like the big kit is still there. and things like that. I've also got this Halloween kit, which I talked about last week, which I needed to finish it. So I have finished it now. So this kit with the Halloween pieces, that hopefully should be in my shop by today. So yeah, I will try and make sure that I put it in there, in fact, after I finish filming today. So yeah, this, whoops, oh, that's journal card in that pocket. Yeah, so I will put this in. And this is from my Halloween kit from the year before last, so 2023. The Ghostly Gatto, is it? Or the Ghouls Gatto? I can't remember now the name of it. And I'm so sorry, I still haven't had a chance to get my Halloween kit for this year in my shop. So yeah, I must do that. I will try and do that over the next day or so. So yeah, I don't know what it's going to be called yet. I don't know what's gone on with my, you know, binding. What's going on with my binding here? I have no idea. Yeah, I will try and get that into my shop over the next couple of days. So yeah, I've had a lot of fun making that, and I'm in the middle of making some other stuff as well. So yeah, I will aim to get everything listed in the next couple of days. So, or definitely the Halloween kit, even if I don't get around to anything else. So yeah. Trying to think what else. My mum is having her other hip replacement this week. So she had one a couple of years ago, and she'd got herself really in a state about it, you know, very, very frightened to have it. And then it was, of course, it was fine. You know, like all these things that we kind of, you know, build up in our heads and think, oh my goodness, you know, she really didn't want to have it, was really, really scared. And then when she had it, she was fine, and actually her recovery was really fine and things like that. So yeah, she's got to have her other one now replaced. So I think it's Friday. I feel like the 2nd, which I think is Friday. Yeah, so she's having that done. So hopefully, fingers crossed, she'll, you know, be fine. Well, I mean, she will be fine, obviously, but hopefully she'll have a speedy recovery. So yeah, thank you so much to anyone who's commented on videos and things like that. Thank you to everyone who watched the Missing Mojo Masterclass. Don't forget, I do need, obviously, you know, suggestions for things that you would like to see in those Missing Mojo Masterclasses. So, you know, if you haven't kind of like left comments saying what types of things that you would like to see, you know, sort of quick, easy-ish projects that I can do like within the space of one video rather than like a series or anything, then, you know, please leave them sort of down below now, because that would be great. You know, I said sort of before, obviously that's a, you know, subscriber-led series, and so without the, you know, subscriber suggestions, I haven't got kind of much of a series. So I have got lots of other suggestions, in the initial trade. I seem to get a lot of suggestions. Some of them, obviously, they're duplicated, i.e., you know, they're the same, and some are the same as some of the things we've already done. Some are things that are going to be more than one episode and things like that. Some are things that, you know, possibly would be just outside of my capabilities anyway. So yeah, I'm still kind of like hunting for suggestions, really. There's a lot of things that I picked up from your suggestions, which is fantastic, thank you, but that I will try and do in something else, you know, in either a series or something, because they're not maybe conducive to just one video. So, you know, I've commented on a lot of people saying I will try and do that. A lot of those things there, I will try and do those independently, if you see what I mean, because they're maybe not going to be a like one video type project. But yeah, we'll kind of see how that goes. But yeah, I can't believe it's going to be actually October already. I mean, where has this year gone? Absolutely flown by. Okie dokie. It's getting really cold now. I mean, the day stayed quite nice all day, but yeah, had to kind of like stop filming for a couple of hours because my daughter was needing something. So, you know, kind of went and did something with her. But yeah, it's now, the sun's kind of like going in and it's getting really chilly now. So not the best. Well, I mean, it is the best. It's been a beautiful day, but yeah, not the best now because it's getting really quite cold. So might try and keep this template somewhere. I don't know where I would keep it to be really sort of, you know, find it next time. Unless I sort of somehow attach it to my envelope punch board. That seems a bit strange, but yeah. Okay. Oops. I've been doing a lot of finishing off projects as well recently, so I will have more journals and things like that going in my shop soon. So if you've been looking for journals and things like that, there should be some going in very, very soon, you know, within the next week, I would imagine. So another friend of mine, he's just come back from Dubai. He literally got back on, I think it was Saturday. Anyway, he phoned yesterday. He'd had such a brilliant time. So, lucky devil. But, yeah. Obviously, he's come back. He's like, oh, my goodness, it's so cold. I said, it was so cold the whole time you were away. So, you definitely weren't missing anything. Yeah. Definitely not missing anything. And obviously it's only going to get colder now, isn't it? Yep. Okay, I think this is the last one now. So yeah, we're not doing too bad. I'm not sure how long I've been filming for now, but I feel like we've made quite a few. So I'm glad I stopped when I did, you know, because like I say, sometimes I get carried away with the very initial stage and end up making loads of, like, you know, cutting the paper or whatever. And then it's like, wow, what was I thinking? There was no way I was going to be able to make that many. So yeah, I feel quite chuffed about this because I think I've made quite a lot. And actually, I think we're on track to pretty much be able to glue them all together and everything. So yeah, that's an improvement on quite often. Okay. Right, let me get rid of all these little bits. I'm just going to finish my cup of tea that's just sat there to the side. And then we'll glue them all together and decorate one. Okay. Oops. My glue's really oozing out now, isn't it? Right, I'm going to try and count these as we go, I think. So, probably lose track, to be honest, because I'll start chatting about something else and then we'll have forgotten completely. But let's wait and see. Honestly, there's so many colds and things like that about at the moment. So when I went out on Saturday night, you know, with kind of all my old school friends, honestly, I think there was 3 or 4 people said that they'd been, you know, unwell all week with a cold. So yeah, there's loads and loads of things about. Don't know whether that's just a UK thing or whether that's everywhere. You know, share below, like, have you got colds at the moment? Is it just over here? What's going on? But literally everyone you speak to, people have got colds. So yeah, I think it's because literally as soon as like the 1st of September came, the weather just deteriorated instantly. You know, the temperature plummeted. I've never known it be so sudden. You know, it was like 1st of September and that's it. It just straight away got freezing. So yeah, really, really disappointed. I hope we're not going to be in for a really cold winter. That would be gutting. Well, I mean, to be honest, probably nicer actually having cold and dry. You know, like if it was those cold, crisp days rather than like really, oh, those grey, drab, wet, you know, yeah, depressing winter days. They're really miserable, aren't they? Okay. Okay. Oh, do you know, I've forgotten to be counting these up, so already I've no idea how many I've done yet. I said I'd forget, didn't I? As soon as I start speaking, I've forgotten. Okay. Okay. Oops. So it's really nice. One of our, you know, school friends, so a friend of mine who, you know, really good friend of mine, and we've stayed in touch since leaving school. So, you know, I mean, I can't remember, did I leave school in, it's been 1991, I think. And yeah, we've stayed friends kind of all that time. And she's like split up with her husband. Oh, when did she split up with him? I'm trying to think. I think 2 years ago. It will be 2 years in January, I think. Anyway, her and one of our old school friends, you know, male school friend, they are now together. So I think they got together maybe March this year, something like that. Oh, it's so sweet. They just seem so in love. And yeah, it's really, really nice to see. I mean, to be honest, I think he always really liked her. Well, I mean, he openly says he always really liked her. But yeah, I think everyone else knew he always really liked her. And yeah, it's just really lovely to see. They seem so happy together. Which is lovely, isn't it? Yeah. Right, okay, let's count up how many we've done now, because I totally forgot to be doing that. 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So we've done 11, which is loads, isn't it? So now what I'm going to do, like I said before, I would normally probably have decorated the back of these and then have them as like a movable pocket. What I'm going to try and do now is decorate the front of this. So, you know, kind of slightly different way of doing it. So I've got here some of my fussy cut pieces. I think this is set 3, I think. They're the die cut and fussy cut pieces. So now this is on not copy paper, but just slightly thicker than copy paper. So 120 GSM, I think this is. So I would normally decorate up with something thicker, but I had these already printed, so I thought let's just, you know, go with these. Thinking probably this needs to be slightly smaller. So let's go right over here. And then I'm going to just cut it down sort of through the text a bit. Yeah, like that. Maybe slightly smaller still. Oh, I hope I haven't now made it too small. No, I think it still wants to be smaller still, so take it down there. Oh, not made a very good job of that now. Straight edgewise. Okay, oh my gosh. Terrible job. Okay, so that looks quite good, doesn't it? So what I'm now going to do is just ink this up. So this is going to be like, you know, a label on the jar. So I'll just ink this up quickly. This paper has actually already been coffee dyed, so it's already looking quite sort of aged, so I don't need to worry too much. Okay. Right, so because I'm now putting this on the front side of the jar, i.e. the pocket side, what I need to do is just cut this across so that it's going to then have one bit like on the back and one bit on the pocket, if you see what I mean. So like that. So it's like the label on the jar, but it's spread across the pocket and the back. So just, yeah. Okay. Mop the glue out. Oops. Okay. And then this one. Okay. Right. Let's just quickly glue this one down. Okay, so then what I was talking about for the lid, I'm going to just take this, you know, craft coloured card. And to be honest, what I might do is actually glue this onto here now, because I'm not very good at cutting it to size and then making sure it's the right size, if you see what I mean. So I'm going to just take this and I'm just going to glue this down here. So like that. Okay. Right. Okay, and then I'm just going to cut this out here. Might even try and make it slightly taller, perhaps. Oh, I didn't really do a good job of making it taller, but like that. So straight away, that does look like a jar, doesn't it, with a lid. And then can just ink around the edge of the lid. And then what we could do, I quite like to do it like it's got one of those, what do they call those jars? You know, like when they've got fabric on the lid. I don't know. There's probably a name. I feel like there's a name, but yeah, I can't think what that name would be. So I'm going to use a bit of sari silk, I think. So I want to ruffle it across here, but have a little bit of the lid showing, if you see what I mean. So just going to then put it here. Oops, oh my goodness, what a lot of glue I have there. Okay, right, now just take this out here. Oh my goodness, very fiddly. Okay. And then what I quite like normally doing is putting some twine round. Now, I probably should have made that slightly lower down. Or you could glue it flat, I guess, on there. But yeah, I'm going to have it like this. Let me get some twine. And this is just something that I do every time I ever make these, to be honest. So really boring. But you know, like when you find something that works, I like to just stick with that. So yeah, boring, but what do they say? Like an oldie but goodie. Oldie but goodie, this is. So I've got a little bit of the paper that we used. Take that down. Okay. And then what you can do is make a little sort of tag. Probably needs to be smaller. Okay. Oh my goodness. Right, like that. Let's just get rid of these bits. Okay. I'm going to punch a hole with this, and then let's just see. I do have some small eyelets. Now whether I've got one in the right colour is another thing altogether. So let me just grab my eyelets. Hold on. Oh, I very rarely use the tiny ones, so I don't know whether I'm going to have a smallish, a small enough one. Let's have a look and see. Oh gosh, these are all massive. I think that's going to drown it, to be honest. Yeah. Oh, the small ones are obviously right at the bottom of the jar, which I was trying to avoid tipping them all out. And the small ones are not, this good colour. The small ones are sort of little coloured ones that I've had for years. Oops, what's that one? Sorry, hang about. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Got a tiny one there. Right, oh, mustn't drop it. Never ever use these tiny ones. So yeah, I don't know what all these little washer things are about. I never ever have used them. I'm going to just throw them away. I know, probably now, everyone will be shouting at me saying, don't throw them away, they're such and such. It's too late now, I've thrown them, so yeah. Right, now, do I want that on that way? Yeah. Oh, I'm not very good at this. I'm going to mess this up, I can just tell. I'm obviously using the wrong setter. Oh my goodness, look at that. Yeah, that really was the wrong setter, wasn't it? Wow. Oh my gosh, did not realise it was going to be quite that disastrous. Right, I'm no good with my crocodile. Right, okay, I've put it on a different one. Now I'm going to have to go back through to try and find another tiny one. Oh, come on. Oh, wasn't that lucky? The one that dropped off or dropped out, that just happened to be the right one. Oh, more of those little funny washer things stuck on me. Right, okay. Oh, keep your fingers crossed that I'm going to be able to do this, because I'd really like to have the eyelet, but I have to give up if I still can't do it. Okay. Right, keep your fingers crossed, everybody. Yay, that was better. I mean, I still don't think it's perfect, to be honest. I don't know, I've got some paper at the back of it and things. Anyway, right. Gonna take my baker's twine, whoops, like that, and going to just tie this round. Just make the end a bit better. Go through, go through. Okay. Like that. Okay. So, yeah. Oh my goodness, what is going on here? Have I actually, oh look, I've not even gone through that properly. Right, hang on. Let me start again. This is where you see, when I say about the missing mojo thing, and it has to be something that's in my capabilities. If it's anything too fiddly, I'm not going to be able to, do it. I can't lie, but yeah, I'm not very good at doing anything that's a little bit sort of fiddly. This is like, this is fiddly enough for me, to be honest. It's kind of like my limit, really. Okay. Right. So, yeah, let me just tie that in a little bow around there. Okay. rid of some of that because it's a bit of a long bit of thread. There we go. And yeah, I can just leave that down around. Oops, there we go. How gorgeous does that look? And then, to be honest, I would just then glue that baker's twine down at the back, just so it's, you know, not moving about anymore. Like that. There we go. Absolutely gorgeous little pocket there. So you've just got the pocket there, the little bit of fabric as if it was, you know, like a little lid on the jar, and then the label on the jar as well. So, you know, obviously you could decorate it up with some other bits, maybe like a butterfly or something like that. Actually, I've just seen I've got some bows beside me. Let me just see whether I've got any that are a good colour. Yeah, could maybe just, like, you know, have a bow or something on there. So these are just my bow printables. So yeah, maybe have that there, or at the bottom, maybe at the bottom. Okay. How gorgeous does that look? So I mean, they really don't need a lot on there, do they? You know, if you've used some pretty paper to decorate, to make them, you know, it looks really pretty anyway. So yeah, you've got your pocket there, and then the you know, the little mason jar. So I would glue that on then on like 3 sides and just use it as like a sort of side load-in pocket there as well. So yeah, let me know what you think. I hope that you know, it kind of was helpful. If you don't have an envelope punch board, I hope that you can kind of like make some maybe with your you know, template and things, and yeah, have fun with them. And thank you so much for watching. Don't forget, like I say, I will be you know, putting some more stuff in my shop, you know, journal and things, or a couple of journals, and yeah, I do have lots of things still available, so you know, if you're interested, then do head over there. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you all have a fantastic day. Would really appreciate you know, a big thumbs up to this video, and if you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would really appreciate you subscribing. Thanks then, bye.